The battlefield drifted in silence. Broken ships floated like dead giants around a dark, tired star. Their metal skins were cracked and burned, their weapons frozen in useless shapes. No explosions echoed here anymore. No alarms cried out. This place had been forgotten by time, by history, and by the galaxy itself. Yet something still watched. Deep inside a shattered alien warframe, a faint light pulsed. It was weak, uneven, and old, but it refused to fade. The light was the last remnant of Caelthrin, once a warrior of great honor and terrible strength. His body had been destroyed long ago, torn apart in the final moments of a war that ended his people. What remained of him was locked inside a damaged neural core, surrounded by cold metal and drifting debris. Caelthrin could no longer move. He could no longer feel pain or pride the way he once had. Time passed differently now. Moments stretched into years. Years blurred into centuries. He remembered battles, commands, and the roar of entire fleets moving as one. He remembered victory. He remembered failure. Most of all, he remembered being abandoned. When his empire fell, there was no rescue, no final order, no honor guard. The war ended and those who survived fled. The wounded were left behind. The broken were forgotten. Caelthrin, once chosen for greatness, became nothing more than wreckage drifting in the dark. Scavengers had come before, automated machines, cold alien crews. They scanned the battlefield, stripped useful parts, and left. None cared about the faint signal inside the ruined warframe. None paused long enough to listen. Until now. A small human salvage ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the battlefield. Its engines glowed softly as it slowed, careful not to collide with the drifting wrecks. The ship was not large or impressive. Its hull bore scars from old repairs, and its systems were far from new. Inside the ship, a tired crew watched the sensors. "This place gives me a bad feeling," one of them said quietly. "It's just debris," another replied. "Dead war, dead ships." The captain studied the display, her brow tense. Still, scanned carefully, no sudden moves. The human ship did not rush in. It did not fire probes blindly or send drones to tear apart the wreckage. Instead, it drifted slowly, mapping the area, recording data, and avoiding contact unless necessary. This behavior caught Caelthrin's attention. He had seen countless species. He had fought many of them. He knew how they acted when faced with ancient battlefields. Most saw opportunity. Some saw danger. None showed hesitation like this. The humans argued softly among themselves. Their voices were rough, uncertain, and emotional. They spoke of risks, of old treaties, of whether this battlefield should even be touched. One voice suggested leaving everything undisturbed. Another pointed out that they needed resources to survive. They were divided, imperfect, and strangely careful. Caelthrin focused what little strength he had left. His core struggled to process external signals, but he pushed past the damage. Long ago, his people had designed warriors to command entire fleets with a thought. Now he could barely form a whisper. Still, he tried. The signal escaped his broken warframe like a breath released into space. It was weak and fragmented, more instinct than language. It carried no command, no threat, only a plea. "Please." The whisper drifted through static and radiation, slipping between frequencies. It brushed against the human ship's sensors unnoticed at first. It passed through layers of noise until it reached a quiet corner of the ship's systems. In engineering, a man named Elias Rowe frowned at his console. "That's strange," he muttered. He adjusted a setting, then leaned closer to the display. The signal was faint, unstable, and buried under interference. It didn't match any known system alert or external broadcast. Elias ran the scan again. The signal was still there. "What are you looking at?" a crew member asked. "Not sure," Elias said. "Might be nothing, could be just background noise." But something about it felt wrong to ignore. Elias isolated the frequency and cleaned it up as best he could. The signal did not become clearer, but it became focused, almost intentional. His chest tightened. He didn't hear words, not exactly. It was more like a feeling pressed gently against his thoughts. Old, tired, waiting. Elias sat back slowly. "Captain," he said over the comm, "I think there's something here, something active." There was a pause before the reply came. "Active how?" "I don't know yet," Elias answered honestly, "but it doesn't feel like a weapon system or an automated beacon." Caelthrin sensed the attention. For the first time in centuries, something responded to him. The whisper had not vanished into nothing. It had been heard. Hope, a feeling he barely remembered, stirred faintly within his core. The human ship altered course, moving closer to the source of the signal. Lights scanned the wreckage carefully. The battlefield revealed more of its silent horror. Ships split in half, weapons fused into useless shapes, armor melted by forces long forgotten. As the ship approached the shattered warframe, Caelthrin's system strained. His power reserves were nearly gone. If the humans did not act soon, even his whisper would fade. Inside the ship, tension grew. "This tech is ancient," someone said, "older than anything in our records." "And dangerous," another added. "We don't know what woke it up." The captain hesitated, then made a decision. "No weapons, we observe only. If it reacts aggressively, we pull back." Elias watched the data scroll across his screen. The signal grew slightly stronger as they neared the wreckage. It was still broken, but now it felt less distant. Closer, Caelthrin gathered everything he had left. He shaped the whisper again, pushing it toward the human mind that seemed to listen. This time it carried more than sound. It carried memory, loss, pride without arrogance, and a single thought: choose. Elias gasped softly. He removed his hands from the console, his heart racing. He wasn't sure what he was experiencing, but he knew one thing clearly. This was not a machine calling out. It was someone. The human ship slowed to a near stop beside the broken warframe. Floodlights revealed deep scars across alien metal, markings worn smooth by time. Whatever this thing had been, it had once been powerful. Now it was barely alive. Elias stood and made his way toward the airlock, his mind filled with questions and unease. Behind him, the crew watched silently, unsure why he felt so compelled to go. Caelthrin waited. For centuries he had watched species pass him by. He had expected the same fate again. Yet something about these humans was different. They did not rush. They did not claim. They listened. The battlefield, long silent, felt alive again. And for the first time since his fall, the forgotten warrior dared to believe he might not drift alone forever. Elias Rose stood inside the small exploration pod as it drifted away from the salvaged ship. The pod moved slowly, careful not to disturb the fragile wreckage around it. Outside the narrow window, the battlefield looked even more haunting up close. Broken ships floated like ghosts, their shadows stretching across one another. Elias kept his breathing steady, though his hands trembled slightly. He had volunteered to go alone. The captain had not argued, but her eyes had been full of worry. 10 minutes, she had said. If anything feels wrong, you come back. Elias had nodded, though he was not sure how he would explain what felt right or wrong anymore. The signal guided him. It did not point with arrows or numbers. It pulled gently, like a current in water. The closer he moved, the stronger the feeling became. It was not loud. It did not demand attention. It waited. The pod slowed beside the shattered alien warframe. Up close, the structure was massive. Layers of armor were cracked open, revealing twisted inner systems. The design was nothing like human technology. It was elegant and terrifying at the same time, built for war, not comfort. Elias activated his suit lights and stepped out onto the wreckage. His boots clanged softly against alien metal. Each step echoed through the empty space. Inside the broken warframe, Caelthrin sensed movement. The human was near now, closer than any being had been since the day his body failed. Caelthrin felt no fear, only uncertainty. His kind had never asked. They had commanded. They had taken. Now he waited to see if asking had been a mistake. Elias followed the signal deeper into the wreck. Narrow passages forced him to squeeze past broken plating. Strange symbols covered the walls, worn and faded. He did not understand them, but he felt their weight. This place had once been alive with purpose. At last he reached the core chamber. At its center floated a fractured crystal-like structure, bound by damaged rings of metal. A weak light pulsed inside it, slow and uneven, like a tired heartbeat. Elias stopped breathing for a moment. "That's not a reactor," he whispered. His suit sensors struggled to identify the object. It was not fully mechanical. It was not fully organic. It was something in between. As Elias stared, the signal changed. It was clearer now, still quiet but more focused. Thoughts brushed against his mind, gentle and careful, as if afraid of causing harm. Caelthrin reached out again, slower this time. He did not force the connection. He offered fragments instead. Images, feelings. Elias staggered slightly as they touched. He saw flashes of a vast fleet moving as one. He felt the weight of armor and the certainty of duty. He sensed loyalty so deep it burned. Then came fire, chaos, silence, endless waiting. Elias dropped to one knee. "You're alive," he said softly, "not a machine, not a trap, a survivor." Caelthrin felt the words, though he did not hear them the way humans did. Alive. The concept felt fragile but true. "Yes," came the reply, broken and faint. "Still." Elias swallowed hard. "You've been here, alone, all this time." There was a pause. Caelthrin searched his fading memories for the right response. Time had lost meaning to him. "Long," he answered simply. Elias removed one glove and placed his bare hand against the cracked surface of the core housing. The metal was cold, too cold. "We didn't know," Elias said. "No one knew." Caelthrin sensed something unfamiliar in the human, regret, not for personal loss but for another's suffering. His kind had never felt regret for enemies or allies. "Your kind listens," Caelthrin said. "Others did not." Elias gave a weak smile. "We don't always listen, but we try, sometimes." The connection strengthened slightly. It was still unstable but clearer than before. Caelthrin shared more carefully. He showed Elias what he had been, a warrior chosen from birth, trained to fight for an empire that promised glory and purpose. He showed the final battle, the moment his command went silent, the sky filled with debris. He showed being left behind. Elias felt his chest tighten. "They abandoned you." "Yes," Caelthrin replied. There was no anger in the word, only acceptance. "I was no longer useful." Elias shook his head. "That's not right." Caelthrin noticed the firmness in the human's thoughts. Humans were small compared to his people. Physically weaker, short-lived, yet their emotions burned bright and fast. "Why are you here?" Caelthrin asked. Elias hesitated. "We're salvagers. We recover old tech. We sell what we can. It's not heroic." "But you did not take," Caelthrin observed. "No," Elias agreed. "Not yet." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint hum of failing systems. Caelthrin felt his power slipping. Each connection cost energy he did not have. Elias noticed the dimming light. "You're fading," he said urgently. "Yes," Caelthrin replied. "I cannot remain active much longer." Elias' mind raced. "We can help. We can stabilize you, maybe move you to our ship." Caelthrin considered this. "If you remove me," he warned, "others will notice. There are those who still seek what my kind built." Almost as if summoned by the words, alarm sounded faintly in Elias' suit. "Captain," Elias said into the calm, "we've got incoming signals, multiple ships, unknown origin." The captain's voice came back tense. "We see them. They're not friendly. They're moving fast." Caelthrin felt the familiar presence of hunters, not his people but scavengers of power, species that searched old battlefields for forgotten weapons. "They come for me," Caelthrin said. Elias clenched his fist. "Then we don't leave you." "You should," Caelthrin replied. "They will destroy you to reach me." Elias stood up slowly, meeting the pulsing light. "You asked us to choose. I think this is the answer." Caelthrin felt something shift inside him. No one had chosen him since the fall, not as a tool, not as a resource, as a being. The human ship moved closer, positioning itself between the incoming vessels and the wreckage. It was a poor shield, but it was all they had. "We can't win a straight fight," the captain said over the comm, "but we won't abandon you either." Caelthrin listened to the voices of the crew. Fear, determination, doubt, hope, such noise, such life. "If I assist," Caelthrin said to Elias, "I may not survive the process." Elias did not answer right away. He looked at the damaged core, the ancient warrior who had waited so long to be heard. "We won't force you," Elias said at last, "but if you choose to stand with us, we'll stand with you." The enemy ships emerged from the shadows of the battlefield, sleek, armed, confident. Caelthrin made his decision. "Then listen," he said, "not as a commander, as an ally." The whisper grew steadier, not louder but stronger. For the first time since his fall, Caelthrin did not feel like a forgotten weapon drifting in the dark. He felt chosen. And the battlefield, once silent, prepared to witness something new. The first enemy ship fired a warning pulse across the battlefield. It was not meant to hit anything. It was meant to scare, to announce dominance. The energy wave passed through drifting wreckage, making broken metal spin slowly. Inside the human salvage ship, alarms rang. "They're locking weapons," the pilot said, voice tight. The captain stood firm. "Hold position, no first strike." Elias was still inside the broken warframe, his suit pressed close to Caelthrin's fading core. He felt the vibration of distant weapons through the metal beneath his boots. "They're here," Elias said quietly. "Yes," Caelthrin replied. His presence in Elias' mind felt sharper now, more focused. "They believe you will flee." Elias looked around the ruined chamber. "They don't know us very well." The enemy ships spread out, surrounding the area. They were faster, better armed, and clearly experienced in taking what they wanted. Their sensors swept across the human ship, dismissive and confident. A harsh transmission cut through the open channels. "Human vessel," a cold voice said. "Withdraw immediately." "This site is now under our claim," the captain responded calmly. "This is an unregistered battlefield. You have no legal claim." There was a short pause, then a thin laugh. "Law does not survive here." Weapons powered up. Caelthrin felt old instincts rise, battle logic. Threat assessment. He had been made for moments like this, yet he hesitated. "If I fully engage," he told Elias, "my systems will burn out. I will give you knowledge, not control." Elias swallowed. "That's enough." Caelthrin began to share. Data flooded into Elias' suit systems, then into the human ship. It was not clean or complete. Some of it was damaged by time. But it carried patterns, enemy movement predictions, power flow weaknesses, forgotten battlefield tactics. The human crew stared at their displays in shock. "This tech, it's rewriting our targeting models," the pilot said. "Not rewriting," Elias said through the comm. "Adapting, don't fight like them, fight like us." The captain understood. "All hands listen up. We don't try to match their strength, we confuse them." The human ship moved suddenly, not away but deeper into the wreckage field. Large enemy ships followed, expecting an easy chase. They were wrong. The battlefield was dense with debris. Broken hulls and twisted metal blocked clean firing lines. The enemy ship slowed to avoid collision. The human ship did not. "Thrusters to manual," the pilot said. "We'll scrape paint if we have to." The ship skimmed past wreckage with inches to spare. Small pieces of debris struck the hull, but the ship kept moving. The enemy ships fired, but their shots struck old wrecks instead, exploding uselessly. Caelthrin guided Elias, who relayed quick instructions to the crew. "That ship on the left, its shields recharge slower after firing, bait it." The human ship exposed itself briefly. The enemy took the shot. The moment their weapons fired, the humans veered hard, slipping behind a massive broken cruiser. "Now," Elias said. A focused pulse from the human ship hit the enemy's weakened shields. The damage was not fatal, but it shocked them. They had not expected a counterattack that precise. "What are they doing?" one enemy commander snarled. "They're improvising," another replied. Unpredictably. Caelthrin watched through shared sensors. Humans did not fight with perfect formation. They argued mid-battle. They adjusted plans on the fly. They took risks that no simulation would approve. And it worked. One enemy ship collided with debris while trying to pursue two aggressively. Another was forced to pull back after its systems overloaded chasing false targets. But the pressure mounted. More enemy ships arrived at the edge of the battlefield. The humans could not keep this up forever. Inside the warframe, Caelthrin felt his power draining fast. His thoughts slowed. The light within his core flickered dangerously. "Elias," he said, weaker now. "There is one more option." Elias already feared the answer. "What kind of option?" "I can trigger a localized system echo," Caelthrin explained. "It will mimic the activation of an ancient defense network." Elias' eyes widened. "You don't have one." "No," Caelthrin agreed, "but they do not know that." The risk was high. The signal would draw attention. It would also cost Caelthrin almost everything he had left. "Do it," Elias said after a brief pause. Caelthrin focused. He reached into damaged memory cores, pulling fragments of old command codes and half-forgotten frequencies. He shaped them into something convincing. The battlefield lit up. Ghost signals flared across enemy sensors. Long-dead weapons appeared to wake. Ancient power signatures echoed through space. The enemy ships froze. "Impossible," one commander said. "That network was destroyed." Fear spread through their ranks. They had come to hunt, not to fight legends. "This is a trap," another shouted. "Retreat." They broke formation, firing wildly as they pulled back. One ship clipped another in its haste. The battlefield punished their panic. The human ship did not chase, it simply survived. As the last enemy ship fled, silence returned. Inside the warframe, the light dimmed to almost nothing. Elias rushed forward. "Caelthrin, stay with me." Caelthrin felt the end approaching. His systems were failing. Memory fragments dissolved like dust. "You stood," he said softly, "where my empire ran." Elias pressed his hand against the core again. "You're not done. We'll get you out. We'll find a way." Caelthrin sensed the human ship moving closer, extending grapples and stabilizers. He felt himself being carefully disconnected from the broken warframe that had been his prison for so long. The process was painful in a way he could barely define. Connections snapped. Old systems shut down forever. Yet he did not feel afraid. "You should not risk so much," Caelthrin said. "For one fallen warrior." Elias shook his head, though Caelthrin could not see it. "That's where you're wrong. You're not just a warrior, you're a person." The word echoed inside Caelthrin's fading thoughts. Person. As they secured the core inside a protective containment field aboard the human ship, Caelthrin felt something new replace the endless waiting. Purpose. The battlefield drifted behind them, silent once more. But this time, it was not a grave. It was a beginning. The human salvage ship moved away from the battlefield at slow speed. Its engines were damaged, its hull was scratched and burned, and several systems were running on backup power. Still, it moved forward, steady and determined. Inside the ship, the crew worked in tense silence. Caelthrin's core rested inside a temporary containment chamber built from spare parts and emergency shielding. It was not elegant, and it was not perfect, but it was stable. Thin lines of light pulsed faintly inside the fractured structure, weaker than before, yet still present. Alive. Elias stood outside the chamber, his arms crossed, his eyes fixed on the dim glow. He had not left his post since they brought the core aboard. He barely noticed his own exhaustion. The ship's medical officer approached quietly. "You should rest." Elias shook his head. "Not yet." Inside the containment field, Caelthrin drifted between awareness and silence. His systems were heavily damaged. Large parts of his memory were gone forever, but something remained. Enough to feel the careful attention around him, enough to sense that he was no longer alone. "You are still here," Caelthrin whispered. Elias leaned closer. Yeah, and you're not going anywhere. Caelthrin felt confusion. Why? The question was not strategic. It was personal. Elias thought for a moment. Because leaving you behind would make us the same as everyone else who passed you by. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, escaping the dangerous region. The sudden shift strained the weakened systems, but the crew held it together. Warnings flashed, then faded as temporary solutions kicked in. For Caelthrin, the jump felt strange. He had once commanded fleets that crossed space without effort. Now even this gentle movement felt overwhelming. Time passed. Hours became days. The crew worked non-stop, patching systems, sharing sleep shifts, arguing over repairs. News of the encounter spread quietly through secure channels. Whispers moved faster than official reports. A human ship had survived an encounter with advanced raiders. Not only survived, driven them away. Other species noticed. Inside the containment chamber, engineers slowly improved Caelthrin's support systems. They did not try to control him. They did not try to access his memories without permission. They spoke to him, explained each step, and asked before making changes. Caelthrin found this deeply unsettling. "Why do you ask?" he said once, his voice weak but clear. An engineer paused. "Because it's your mind. Your life." Caelthrin processed this for a long time. His people had never asked such questions. Warriors were assets, tools shaped for purpose. Humans were different. Elias became Caelthrin's anchor. Their connection remained fragile, but it stabilized. With human assistance, Caelthrin learned to conserve his remaining energy, to exist without burning himself out. One quiet cycle, when the ship lights were dimmed, Caelthrin spoke again. "I believed I was chosen once," he said. "Chosen to fight, to serve. When that ended, I believed I had no value." Elias listened. "Now," Caelthrin continued, "I do not understand what I am." Elias smiled faintly. "Neither do we most of the time." As the ship reached human-controlled space, officials met them with caution and disbelief. Scans confirmed the truth. The ancient core was real. The battle reports were accurate. The galaxy paid attention. Some alien powers reacted with fear, others with curiosity, a few with anger. Humanity, still considered young and fragile by many, had done something unexpected. They had protected the fallen. They had not claimed Caelthrin as a weapon or property. Instead, they granted him protected status under human law. He was not equipment. He was not cargo. He was recognized as a sentient being. Caelthrin struggled to understand this decision. "You gain nothing," he said to Elias. "No advantage, no ownership." Elias shrugged. "We gain trust and maybe a friend." Caelthrin felt something tighten inside what remained of his mind. Friend was a word without an equivalent in his language. There were allies, commanders, subordinates, but friend meant choice. As weeks passed, Caelthrin's condition improved slightly. Not enough to restore what was lost, but enough to stabilize him permanently. Human scientists refused to rush. They accepted limits. They respected boundaries. Other species watched closely. Some sent observers, others sent warnings. A few sent threats. Humanity did not respond with aggression. They responded with openness. Caelthrin was allowed to speak to diplomats, historians, and researchers, always by choice. He shared what he remembered, not of weapons, but of mistakes, of empires that believed strength alone would save them. His words carried weight. "He does not speak like a conqueror," one alien observer noted. "He speaks like a survivor." Caelthrin realized something important then. Humans had not saved him to gain power. They had saved him because they believed no one deserved to be forgotten. One day, as Elias sat beside the containment chamber, Caelthrin spoke more clearly than he had in a long time. "When I whispered," he said, "I expected silence or rejection." Elias nodded. "You weren't asking for much." "You answered anyway," Caelthrin said. "Why?" Elias thought back to that first moment, the faint signal, the feeling of loneliness that did not belong to him. "Because someone asked," he said simply, "and we could hear them." Caelthrin felt something new settle into place. His past no longer defined him. His empire was gone. His war was over. But his story was not finished. News of the encounter became legend in quiet circles. A fallen alien warrior saved by humans who refused to walk away. A battlefield that became a turning point. Other lost signals were reported soon after. Old distress calls, forgotten stations, broken minds drifting in silence. Human ships began to answer them. Not all survived. Not all could be saved. But humans tried, and the galaxy took notice. Caelthrin watched from within his chamber as stars passed by, no longer as a prisoner of wreckage, but as a witness to something growing. One final message arrived from a distant alien council. It was brief and cautious. Humanity's actions have altered expectations. We will observe. Elias smiled when he read it. Good, he said. They should. Caelthrin's light pulsed softly. Once he had been a weapon waiting to be reclaimed. Now he was something else entirely. A voice that had been heard, a choice that had been made. And as the human ship continued its journey through the vast dark, Caelthrin whispered again, not in desperation this time, but in gratitude. Thank you for choosing me. The stars did not answer. Humanity did. Please choose me, the whisper of the fallen alien warrior, HFY Sci-Fi.